Administrator Martinez for being here. Administrator, I have been advocating for years that the Department of Transportation help evaluate and address the problem of undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea in commercial vehicle operators. As it stands now, we do not even know how widespread this problem is because there is no concerted effort to study this frequency in highway transportation operators. We are only made aware of the effects of sleep apnea after a high-profile accident. I represent Hoboken, New Jersey, and the last accident that happened with the rail in Hoboken, it was found that sleep apnea was part of the cause. Now, I'm just wondering, we don't even do a study on sleep apnea to see the effects on vehicle operators. Is that something that you'll be willing to look into in the future? Because I know that it was there for a while that was going to be done, and there was some comments to withdraw it. But if we don't study it, we don't even know how impactful it is. And now we're starting to find out that in the commuter rail industry, it is very prevalent, some of these accidents, this sleep apnea causing. I know how debilitating it is because I suffer from sleep apnea. And for me, sometimes it's difficult.
Thank you for that question, because I know that while the OSA, obstructive sleep apnea, may be controversial, or whether to mandate it or not, the health and well-being of drivers, commercial motor vehicle drivers, is of paramount importance to us. And OSA is a concern. It's one of those factors that is a concern to us, just like, say, diabetes might be. But the current safety programs that we have, as you know, commercial motor vehicle drivers do have to go through health screening. Those providers are registered with us, and we enforce with them that they should continue to rely upon their medical training and expertise to determine whether a driver exhibits the multiple risk factors for OSA, because there are risk factors. And these medical professionals, we believe, should be trained properly to evaluate the individual in front of them to say whether they are a candidate for that. And I think that's where we stand right now.
So do you think we have the tools to make any kind of decisions on sleep apnea for operators?
At this point, where we are relying on the medical training of the doctors and medical professionals that currently do the medical evaluations of the drivers to say, is the driver in front of them show the risk factors for OSA? I can't inform that. I can't improve what training those medical professionals do, except to encourage them that this is something that is important to CMV drivers and to the FMCSA, that this is something that they should evaluate.
Okay. Thank you very much. I yield back.
The chair notes the presence of our colleague, Congressman Mike Gallagher, and we appreciate your interest in this topic, and welcome to the committee. And with that, I'd ask unanimous consent that Congressman Gallagher be allowed to fully participate in today's hearing. Without objection, that is so ordered, and we'll now move to Mr. Denham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Martinez, there's been a lot of discussion not only about ELDs, but the F4A amendment. F4A amendment's called that because in '94, Tip O'Neill actually had this as part of the FAA bill. We also call this a Denham Amendment because we've passed it 5 times now into the Senate. We're getting tired of doing that. But my basic questions are about the safety as it pertains to meal and rest periods. California and Washington, in their wisdom, have tried to create a patchwork. If you have more states that continue down this road, if more states continue to add their own meal and rest periods, first of all, how would the trucking companies be able to adhere to a patchwork across the entire country? And secondly, what does that do to safety across the country if you're forcing drivers to pull over based on a clock versus based on when they're actually tired and these professionals want to take a break?
Well, thank you. And as you know, hours of service is one of the things that we struggle with every day in terms of regulating this community. We have that on a national basis, and that doesn't mean that it's not controversial from time to time, and we're always looking at it. I can't imagine how much more complicated it would be if individual states adopted their own meal and rest break and hours of service, if you will. It would highly complicate the landscape, not just for the regulated community, for the companies and the drivers, but also for the enforcement community. We certainly deal with this in other areas, which is why we like uniformity. We have uniformity in vehicle maintenance issues, drug and alcohol testing, and health screening of the drivers. Those are national, and I would just be very cautious if we go into that world of having 50 states or more jurisdictions add a patchwork of different rules and regulations.
So with the ELDs, electronic logging devices, now being implemented across the board and capturing drivers' hours, can you not also use the ELDs to show that you're actually taking a break and verifying that you're taking a break, and hopefully doing it when you're tired versus when you're stuck on the Golden Gate Bridge or some other bridge across the country that you happen to have that time come up?
Well, that's correct. As was noted earlier by another member, the ELDs basically are a recording device. We have not changed the hours of service. Basically, it's whatever you would have normally put on your paper log, you now do it on your electronic log. So that is exactly what would happen. You would log that you're taking your break at such and such a time and for such and such a reason if you saw fit.
Do you anticipate other states are going to follow in California and Washington's footsteps?
I've given up predicting these issues. I would just say from a regulatory point of view, and in my conversations with industry, I know that it would be a complicating factor.
But in this case, federal preemption for interstate commerce is necessary for F4A or for this amendment, meal and rest, for safety concerns, having uniformity across the country.
I think from the regulatory perspective, and I believe from the regulated industry, uniformity is always something that would be sought.
Thank you. I yield back.
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.